it's Nomad here, and I just wanted to talk about a few things about the nomadic way of life. So, I don't know, let's see. I guess the main thing I want to talk about is some stuff that I saw on YouTube that kind of triggered my mind. So, the main issue is that, we're going through a new time, and there's like a transition happening as far as how people live. And I guess I'm just, there's a dynamic going on between like economics, um, economics, work, the world of work, what we do for work, how we work, and then like, you know, meaning in life, like, doing the stuff that we're passionate about or our purpose and all that, the stuff we want to do on our free time. And they're all sort of intersecting, right? And they're all related. And so basically, I just feel like we've been indoctrinated for a long time with this idea that like, and you've heard it, we've all heard it, you go to, a job and then you work hard and then you consume things and then you may or may not, but probably go into debt to consume a lot of those things, right? And, this cycle kind of begins, and then maybe, either through a business or through your job, you get enough money to retire financially, financial freedom, and then, you ride, right, or whatever. I guess that's one script that we've been taught since like the 40s, maybe the 20s, maybe the 1900s, the 1910-ish area. I know we went from a farming agricultural society to an industrial one, and then that became kind of the thing. It was very hard to make a living on a farm. Everyone was an entrepreneur as a farmer. Then it was better, it seemed, to get a job in the cities and the factories, right? Anyway, that's culminated now in our current society. So the problem is it's all kind of coming to a head now, it seems. I mean, especially with this current housing crisis that we're having. There's a lot of talk about the economy's in another bubble or several bubbles. I've shared, if I haven't shared them, I'm going to share a lot of YouTube videos on that subject. And, it's like this weird game we're all playing, and it's just not playing right. I just don't think our current system is sustainable. And then there's this whole other dynamic about, AI and automation and, taking away jobs. What are people going to do? They're not going to have a job. And that's just, why don't we start there? Because that kind of gets to the heart of all of it, right? So I think, Alan Watts, if you haven't found him, go on YouTube and check him out. He's this really cool Buddhist philosopher, or Zen philosopher guy. I think he's dead now, but anyway, he made a good point in one of his videos, which was that the original meaning of work was the stuff we didn't want to do. Like, I always use the analogy of an island. So if we're all living on an island, let's say it's 10 of us, and there's some work that has to be done. Like every day you have to get water, you have to go get some fish, you got to build a garden, harvest a garden, maybe go hunting, maybe build someone a house. There's just some work that no one wants to do that has to be done. And just crap work that, that's what work is. It's the stuff we don't want to do, right? And, there's stuff we would love to do. Like, we'd probably love to go to the beach, go swim all day, paint or something, go exploring, play a game with our friends. That's, on this island, that's what we would like to do, right? And that's natural. Like, that's the way it should be. Like, we're not supposed to just work all the time. And I don't think work is supposed to consume our lives the way it has. I think if we could imagine a Garden of Eden, it would be where there was no work, right? So why do we chase after work I think it's because we've been indoctrinated with this idea. And I think that indoctrination serves an elite that's becoming more apparent, the 1% now. You know, in 2008, we discovered them. They've always been there, but, you know, when everyone was losing their houses and their jobs and their finances, we discovered them. So it turns out that, you know, this whole system is kind of set up to serve, you know, a small minority of people in the country. And it's been that way for a long time. There's a book that talks about it. Oh God, what's the name of the book? It's going to be in one of my blogs. I can't remember, but you know, there's several people talking about this and how, you know, for example, like since 1970, you know, something like 70% of the income generated from the entire country over the last 50 years or 40 years has gone to like the top 3% or 10% or something. It was 1 to 10% of people. So all that work that we've been doing for all that time is only benefiting a few people. And in the meantime, what happens is we delude ourselves with this idea that we're going to just work hard and eventually we're going to get there. And some of us do, but a lot of us don't. You know, we've been working, you know, all this time, and our parents have been working and our grandparents have been working. And we all kind of buy into this myth or model that, you know, if we just work hard, we'll become the millionaires or the 1%. You know, if you look at a graph, I don't know what the numbers are, but like we can't all be millionaires, you know. I mean, that's not going to happen. And so it's like working at McDonald's or some fast food place or retail, and you know, they say, yeah, work hard. I know your pay is not good, but if you just work hard, you can become the manager. And they tell everyone that, you know, and maybe only 1% become managers. But it gets a lot of work out of them. You know, I mean, I'm not saying that people shouldn't have jobs and work hard. I guess what I'm saying is that life doesn't have to be as difficult as it's been made to, as we think it has to be. A lot of us, there's a Diane Sawyer 2020 video that I'm gonna post on the blog, and you know, basically it's a bunch of struggling middle class families. They're working 2 jobs. One guy's working like 4 jobs, and they're all struggling basically to keep these lifestyles going. Where does that idea come from? You know, I mean, we've all succumbed to it. I know I have. And, you know, it basically comes from media, right? You watch TV, you see commercials. You know, the script that we've been taught is that it's a struggle. It's really hard to make ends meet. You have to work like a dog to do this. And you have to go into a lot of debt, and you get a ton of education, and you know, work like a dog, and then maybe, you know, if you're smart about it, in like 40 years, you can like cruise, retire, or start a business, you know, save enough to be a millionaire, or save enough to, you know, do what you really want to do. And it's just not true anymore. And there's several people, I mean, really, YouTube is the thing that broke it, really, honestly. I mean, YouTube we'll look back on this time and realize that we were liberated by YouTube. I mean, it's next to the internet, YouTube is probably the biggest innovation in humanity's history. I mean, YouTube, something as silly sounding as that. I mean, because what it's allowed is us to share information with each other. And now the gatekeepers who were the gatekeepers of that information, whatever it is, you know, aren't the gatekeepers anymore. We can bypass them with YouTube. We can learn from each other. And what I'm getting at is the fact that now people are starting to talk about it. Like, you know, people like Tim Ferriss, who wrote the 4-Hour Work Week, who basically figured out there were many hacks to the system. that you don't have to work that other script. We could call it the 40-hour work week script, right? And a lot of this is because of the internet and YouTube and Google and all the other stuff. I mean, and solar panels and the cheapness of things and the flatness of the global economy. I mean, really, it's you're free, man. I mean, you can do whatever you want nowadays. So, it's like, people are trapped in jail, and the jailers have left. The door is wide open. Maybe you can't see the door. It's like that cave analogy. But the doors are open. You just have to walk out. And what would keep you in jail in that point? Just your own belief and fear, right? And that's kind of what's going on. So, if you watch my channel, then you know my story. Maybe I had an epiphany when I ended up broke and broke for a while, and you can see my story if you just look at the about of this channel, and that's when I had my epiphany. Up until that point, I was basically just slaving away like everyone else in a rat race, thinking I'll get ahead of this game if I just work a little harder. I had an epiphany, and that's when Urban Nomads was born. And initially Urban Nomads was about alternative living situations, but it's really so much more. I mean, it's like it's a symptom of so many new things, about a new way of living. It's not necessarily about living in RVs, and it's what does that mean, and what's really going on. And so I guess what it's really about, and maybe one day I'll change the name or start another blog, I don't know, it's just about being free from this matrix-like system, economic system we have that virtually enslaves us. If you're struggling out there financially, and you're wondering if you're one of those people like, working many jobs and just like, how do I make this work? And you're stressed and you're in debt and whatever, or you're about to be evicted or whatever, you're about to be homeless, you really want to do what you love and you can't because you're working two jobs, or, whatever, you're a student and you just can't figure it out. I'm just here to tell you that it doesn't have to be that hard. So, that's what this blog is about. I mean, it's, there are people out there who, with either single people, couples, families, that are realizing that they don't have to buy into this mortgage thing or the rent thing. They can, sell all their stuff and be debt free and travel the world. There's a guy with a blog called Man versus Debt. I'm going to post his TED Talk soon. Adam Baker, I think is his name. And he woke up one day realizing he just had a garage full of junk, and he decided, and he was in debt, and he was sick of being in debt, and he sold everything, and him and his wife and their new baby just went and traveled. And I don't know what they're doing now, but anyway, my point is just that, like, these people sold their stuff, bought RVs, trailers, boats, sometimes it's just a car or van, threw a mattress in it, whatever, and they realized they were free, and they just drove off or sailed off or whatever. And the rest of us look at them and think, oh, how did they do that? They must be rich. They must have a trust fund. I mean, it's so freaking backwards, honestly. It's like, if you have no expenses because you're in an RV, why do you need a trust fund? The reason they don't need trust funds and the reason they have money to do whatever is because they don't have the normal cost overhead that a lot of Americans have. We need to just stop chasing that freaking American dream that the TV and the, corporate media is teaching us. I hate to use the word corporate media, but it is. I mean, buy, consume to be happy. To do that, you have to go make all this money and follow our money-making scheme. And all these schemes, all that crap is just making 1% of the country richer every day. Even looking at Facebook, you know, even me doing this YouTube video is part of it. Google's getting richer. Googlers get richer. Every minute this thing ticks by, their bank account's going cha-ching, cha-ching. And, it's the same for Facebook. Every minute you spend on Facebook, Zuckerberg's bank account's going cha-ching, cha-ching, That's okay. I mean, these tools are useful. So my point being is that almost every move you make in a society is just making some 1%er richer, like everything. I heard in some markets, Blackstone, I think it's a private equity firm that bought up a whole bunch of foreclosures back in the 2008, crash. In some markets, they own 20% of the rentals. It's like, people got kicked out of their houses and now they have to rent. And we're kind of rent slaves to Blackstone and others like them. And it's just crazy. It's just, 2008 was really a reshuffling of wealth in the country, a shifting of wealth, a cashing in for the 1%. The middle class got taken for a ride. Anyway, my point is, and the whole point of Urban Nomads is to talk about this, like, you just don't have to live in that slave system. And a lot of it's done through debt, right? So get out of debt if you can. If you don't have any debt, don't get any. If you have some, don't get any more. The guy's blog, Man versus Debt, gives you exact step-by-step instructions on how to do that. I mean, I'm tempted to go into debt. I'm not well off financially. I could use a lot more money like everyone. And it's tempting, to get my credit up and, get credit cards and business loans and all that stuff. But every time I even think about it, I just think, man, I could just, make that money and save it. It's like, I guess the other point is just, this is the secret that like no one talks about. The guy in Man versus Debt talks about it, I love it. I'll give you an example of what I mean. Like Cuba, right? Our capitalist government, and I'm not necessarily against capitalism in a pure sense, but I'm not against socialism either. I mean, it's like just what works, And obviously this laissez-faire capitalism that we are trying to have here doesn't work. If it did, everything would be awesome. We need a balance, which is socialism. But anyway, Cuba, the capitalist propaganda that we were fed all through the Cold War about Cuba was that, people there only make $20 a month. They're so poor. The thing is, what they don't tell you is that, okay, here's the thing. They don't tell us about the other side of the equation. All they talk about in America is income. What's your income? How much do you make? And they don't really talk a lot about the other side of the equation, which is what are your expenses, right? The reason they don't is because they want you to make more income, and they want you to work harder to make more income because it feeds the system that they need, right? What does more income usually mean? It means you spend more, which means you give it to these other companies so they get richer. I mean, no one wants to talk about your expenses. No one's going to come around and say, you should save more money, you should lower your expenses, because no one makes money off of that. But they make more money off of you going into debt, consuming more, spending more, make more income, spend more. They make more money off of that. And so everyone's saying, get the lifestyle you deserve. By the way, if you ever see get the lifestyle you deserve or the credit you deserve, run as fast as you can. I mean, that is the biggest scam going. Apartments say, get the lifestyle you deserve. So what they're really saying is give us the money we deserve. Credit card companies, financial companies saying, get the credit you deserve. You don't deserve any freaking credit. Why the heck would you want to do that? Like, that's dumb. Like, we should not have credit. We should save our money and invest it. Like, but it feeds them, right? So of course they want you to. It's so stupid. All this work to get credit. Like, that's so dumb. Like, we should be working to build up financial assets, right? Like, own something, right? So instead of going $1,000 into debt, like, save up 1,000. Like, it's so simple, right? But we can't do it a lot of times because we're so mesmerized by the consumer society that says we have to borrow more than we have so we can go have this lifestyle that the TV is saying will make us happy. Only to get the crap and realize after a little bit it doesn't. So, it's just ridiculous, honestly. I mean, so my point is that everyone talks about debt and income. Like, the Cubans only make $20 a month. And look, I know Cubans are having it hard. I mean, there was the embargo, there's political oppression from the Castro regime. I get it, communism sucks, right? That's not my point. My point is that if we look at the expense side of being a Cuban, it's not so bad because they have free housing. It's crappy housing, but it's housing. Hey, if you're homeless and you don't have any housing, crappy housing's not so bad, right? They have basic housing. They have all their basics taken care of, right? They have food. They have the basic food. It may be crappy food, but they got food, right? They have basic health care. They may not have the best health care, but they have health care, right? So they have like their basics taken care of, right? Like, they have like a basic universal income in the form of housing, medicine, education, and food, right? And a little money for your pocket. If you the capitalists don't want us to know and didn't want us to know that if 28, they just focus on that part. Oh, they only make $28 a month. They're so poor. Come to America. Look at our great system where, you have to work 3 jobs and be totally in debt to try to have a bunch of crap that you don't need. That's what you want. I mean, hey, I'm 51 years old and it took me freaking 48 years to have this revelation. I mean, my granddad knew, but he just was a bad teacher. He didn't teach us. I'm talking about my family. So we were just consumers, My mom basically taught me to be a consumer. So, my mom was great, don't get me wrong, but she didn't know any better. We were always chasing after this freaking imaginary lifestyle. And anyway, so what you want to do is look at that expense side, right? And that's where the answer is. Because we can cut our expenses, right? That's the trick. And if you look at the guy that did, Man versus Debt, that's what he did. It's simple. The bottom line is this. We don't need as much crap as this society makes you think you need to be happy and to live a decent life. Like, sure, you can have more, but you just don't need that much. And when they don't want you to realize that, because if you realize that, you start living a minimalist, sustainable lifestyle that doesn't feed their capitalist corporate system. The 1% need us to be massive consumers to keep the money flowing to them. And that's the way it works. And, look, I'm not saying people can't have a business and trade and sell and be successful at it. But the way things are going now is becoming very unfair and very oppressive to a lot of people. So it's not like this mom and pop business thing. It's these mega, gigantic, automated corporations that are controlling more and more every day, that are basically virtually enslaving us. You definitely see that in real estate. They really got us there. I mean, you gotta live somewhere, right? So there's a video I follow on YouTube, a guy, and he talks about that. It's like they know you gotta live somewhere. So when people are paying these high rents, it's not because they want to, a lot of times because they have to. They think they have to. So anyway, yeah.